It's Beat the Champ, presented by Storm, and it's our second week at Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York. Our red-hot champion, George Szczublewski, going to try to make it 4 in a row against these bowlers today. Ryan Kress, Dennis Surmaczewicz, and Steve Dorobiala, and we welcome you into Manor Lanes. I'm Paul Peck with Hall of Fame bowler Nawojski and our 3-time champion, George Szczublewski. You have done it in all kinds of ways, George, on all kinds of surfaces. How you feeling about this streak right now?
Good. I mean, made some good shots, got fortunate, and hopefully let's keep it going.
All right, what has he done to keep it going? What does he need to do, Sue, to get another one?
Just keep making the proper adjustments. We've got 2 lefties on the show, 1 righty, so the right won't change a whole lot. So he knows how to make his adjustments. All
right, we're getting used to having George standing here next to us. We will see if that happens at the end of this hour. We are ready to go. It is Beat the Champ, presented by Storm. Our first match is coming up next from Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York. Beat the Champ is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company, and by Latina Boulevard Foods, your favorite family in food distribution. All right, let's get it started here. Ryan Kress on the left, Dennis Surmaczewicz on the right. Both guys have been on this show before last month at Transit Lanes in Williamsville, New York. So they're used to the bright lights and the glamour of Beat the Champ, aren't they?
No nerves here, no excuses.
Dennis Surmaczewicz actually was on 2 different shows with us at Transit Lanes and actually has 1 win in those appearances. So here we go, another 2-hander to get us started, and Surmaczewicz gets that way high and leaves a whole bunch of pins in his first roll.
Yep, that one didn't get as far right as he wanted. I'm pretty sure that his target was right of what he hit. Here we've got our high rev rate 2-hander on a surface that has a lot of friction.
Dennis Surmaczewicz, 32 years old, from Stratford, Connecticut, has moved to the Western New York area a couple of years ago and has fully ingrained himself in the Western New York bowling community. And one of the ways you do that is by being good, of which he is. So Ryan Kress, 29 years old, from Cheektowaga, New York, and a good start for Ryan.
Yeah, it looks like he's taking a page out of Tony Dolan's book, very down and in. Looking at the second arrow, I don't know what he didn't like about that,
I was gonna say,
other than he was off his
happy.
feet a little bit.
But based on some of the results we had in last week's show, you should always be happy with strikes.
Correct. Correct.
We didn't
and
have
carry.
as many of them last month as you normally would expect. And
now that's something to be unhappy about.
Maybe he knew that was coming. So Ryan Kress comes in with a 234 average, lifelong bowler since he was 5 years old, bowls in 3 leagues full-time and subs in a couple of more.
Going for it. Oh,
Ooh.
That was close. That's what you got to do to make that. That is slidable.
Right. Now, a lesson we learned from last week's show is you can have an open frame, and it does not prevent you from still winning these matches.
No, the important part there is he's hitting the pocket. He's not lost. He's not throwing it all over the place. That was a pocket high hit. You could leave the 4, or I'm sorry, you could leave the 6, you could leave the 8. Unfortunately, he left both.
All right, so Dennis Surmaczewicz now to frame number 2.
Looking to open up a little bit more. Like,
boy, we're getting some odd pin leaves here even early on in this one.
well, here's the thing with 2-handers and that high rev rate, and we've talked about it last month with the 2-handers, is that they throw pins all over the place when they hit the pocket. They have great carry percentage, but when you don't, there's oftentimes hard to leave, difficult for spares like this one, splits, wide open pin formations.
All right, so both of these guys will be happy to move past the second frame of this match because it was opens for both. Dennis Surmaczewicz has 13 career 300s and a high 828 series. He has 4 different career 800 series. Works as a paint sales manager. Told you, now a Western New York resident after moving from Connecticut, and once again, some more odd leaves here.
Yep.
So here's my question to you: is as we saw a two-hander in Chris Labiak in our first show last week. Does the wood surface, the condition, these are older lanes here at Manor Lanes, does that have any more impact on the two-handers than it might on the more traditional bowlers?
Well, I would say that's where your rev rate, you really have to compensate with equipment, and that's why we had talked about urethane last week, because the two-handers do go to urethane so that you don't get this erratic hooking situation on drier lanes, which is what we have with wood. And as you can see, the left-hander still playing down and in, up the track, up the second arrow, and while the right-hander can't even keep the ball on the right-hand side of the lane. So that's where less play, good ball choice comes. This is where you kind of see the difference in the two-hander and the lefty.
Ryan Kress bowled in high school at St. Joseph's Collegiate Institute, bowled in college at Erie Community College here in Western New York.
Oof.
Those are great places to prepare yourself for a lifetime of competitive bowling. And, boy, I'll tell you what, that is each guy with opens in the second and third frames.
I guess nobody's paying the price yet.
Is there a restart button on this show, on this match at all?
Well, you could look at it as though it's going to be a 7-frame match, because they're even after 3.
They're both equally struggling, right?
I wouldn't say Ryan's struggling. Ryan's hitting the pocket. He has to make his spares, and he's far more comfortable with his shot than Dennis is right now.
Ryan Kress has bowled at a very high level, even young in his career. Second place in the Tonawanda Eliminator recently. Made the cut in last year's Obenauer Masters, the most prestigious bowling tournament here in Western New York. That means a lot. So it's a 4th frame spare for Ryan Kress.
Still anybody's game. Dennis still has a chance to figure something out. We watched George last week look like he had no ball reaction whatsoever and figured it out. So it's never too late.
Yeah. All right, let's really get a good look at Dennis Surmaczewicz.
Well,
he might not want us to look too closely.
He found a way to get to the ball not to overreact anyway, so now he's got to kind of get in between this and what he has been doing.
What's the frustrating part for high-level bowlers like yourself, like these guys? They practice, they warm up, they're bowling well in warm-ups, and then they get out here in a match like this, and all of a sudden nothing is working right. How do you handle that?
That's a great question, because you're talking about a one-game match, and in a one-game match you don't have a lot of time to make decisions, but you have to visualize the shot you want, and you have to make a decision and commit to it and make good shots. And I think sometimes when you switch balls, you're not confident in what you want to do, the tentativeness comes out and you still make a bad shot. You're never going to know how to make a change until you throw a clean, good shot. And another open here isn't going to help.
Yeah, that is 3 opens in a row. I don't know that we've seen that on this show in a long time.
Well, if a little bit of panic sets in, and then you can't think clearly, and it's easy to panic when you only have a few frames to figure it out.
Yeah, and again, you keep rooting for Dennis to just hit that pocket, get a strike, get your confidence back, and unfortunately, these seem to keep adding to it.
He's actually got the ball not to overreact. It actually held off, came up just high enough to leave a formation like I talk about with two-handers and rev rates, and just a real terrible break on a decision to change balls.
So, again, a 4th consecutive open frame for Dennis Surmaczewicz. And now Ryan Kress, who has been okay to get things started here, he has 2 opens of himself, has to look at this and say, all right, bring it down a notch.
Well, if this doesn't make your swing lose, nothing
down.
will.
Doesn't have to look pretty. I might not get the 200, but it might be enough to win.
There you go.
And that's the confident stroke that Ryan Kress needed to, maybe in his own mind, take control of this match.
Well, still, he's hitting the pocket so he's not lost on the lane. For him, it's just a matter of carry and making your spares.
So can Ryan Kress go on a little roll here and start to pull away? And maybe the answer to that is yes. We'll take our first break here. We're off and rolling on Beat the Champ, presented by Storm from Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York.
What is it about bowling that captivates us so much? Mastery of the game is impossible, but perfection is just within reach. Success seems to lie 60 feet ahead, but the real battle takes place 6 inches between your ears. So if no matter how many times you fail, you would still do anything, and I mean anything, just to get 1% better. We know exactly how you feel.
Hey, Paul, what are you doing?
Hey, Sue. Hey, didn't you hear? We're bowling on MSG. I've got to practice.
No, Paul, we're not bowling on MSG. We're hosting bowling on MSG.
Oh, thank goodness, because there is no way I was going to be ready. Beat the Champ here on MSG. Soon Nawojski and I will bring you all the action. We'll see you on the lanes.
Paul, were you going to bowl in a suit?
Well, just when it looked like Dennis Surmaczewicz might have gotten things going back in the right direction with a 6th frame strike, he comes up with yet another open in the 7th, and now Ryan Kress is really in control of this. He doesn't look particularly happy either.
No, he's a little hard on himself, but he did miss that shot in, and he knows that now he can pretty much take control of the match and put it away. And, you know, you want that so much that sometimes you get a little aggressive, and I think that got away from him.
Yeah, I mean, he had a chance here to be the first guy in this match to put 2 strikes in a row together and couldn't do it, and at least we'll pick up the spare. That was a little closer than it looked.
Yeah, it was. So he's up 30. Let's take a look at that. There's always a fear of chopping this, though, so you really have to be right, right on it.
Love it. Love the reaction from Ryan.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, even when you just said that, like to think that you're only up 30 when your opponent has 5 open frames is like, what? That's closer than it should be, and I think maybe that strike there in the 8th frame will get Ryan to where he needs to be.
Yeah, Ryan's up 41 now. So.
Yeah, and Dennis is really just struggling, and you feel bad for him. We know how good a bowler he is and can be, and this is not who he is, and not what we were hoping to be able to show everybody. But it's the way things go sometimes. So
I mean, the shot is makeable.
He's had some picking up crazy spare practices today, hasn't he? Oh, it's close.
Yeah. Threw it at it, just didn't hit it.
So it's a 6th open frame in this match for Dennis Surmaczewicz. And that face and the look on the face pretty much tells you all you need to know.
Well, if he punches out, he can get to 151, which with a spare in the 9th, Ryan will have taken care of. I'm going to say this was 2 ball choices here that didn't work on this condition, because one ball overreacted. This ball never even made a move.
And a lot of that comes from the warm-ups of trying to figure out what's going to work when, to know when in the match you need to make your moves.
Right. They do get warm-ups on the lanes before they start, but you can have some shots and either you think you have it figured out and don't, or it's not enough. You need more and you don't have it figured out, or you didn't bring the right ball.
And that's finally 2 in a row for somebody in this match, and it belongs to Ryan Kress with strikes in the 8th and 9th. Nice, easy, Knight didn't try to overthrow it. Nice and easy, let the ball do the work there.
Yep.
So Ryan Kress is going to move on here to match number 2. It'll be his second win here on the show. A little wobble in the 7, but not enough.
Well, he's got a nice shot to the pocket, and you can see how the ball enters the pocket does matter. He's going to have to make these spares. Very good.
So we are headed towards a lefty versus lefty matchup in our second match as Ryan Kress will move on to take on Steve Dorobiala. And another spare which sort of epitomizes the way the day has gone a little bit for both of these guys. And 191 is still going to be enough for Ryan Kress to win. Dennis Surmaczewicz finishes this out, and that's a great way to do that with a nice strike there.
He took his spare ball and just went straight.
So Ryan Kress moves on. Match number 2, Kress and Dorobiala coming up next. It's Beat the Champ presented by Storm. It is match number 2. Ryan Kress off the 191 to 131 win over Dennis Surmaczewicz will start things off here against Steve Dorobiala. A couple of lefties going at it here just to the left of the Niagara River here in Tonawanda, New York.
Well, that was aggressive. That was a ball change after he just hit the pocket for a bunch of frames. Changed his tactic, changed his ball.
A little more warm-up time to figure things out, right? Between the match after you win the match.
Not a lot, just a couple balls. That was a big move. This is what he really has to take care of, though.
All right, spare in the first frame for Ryan Kress, and we get our first look at Steve Dorobiala, 46 years old, from Orchard Park, New York. Couple of leagues every week for Steve. 20 career 300 games, a high of 836 on the series end of things. And a nice smooth stroke and a nice first frame strike.
Yeah, that was a really great shot. You see when he sets up, he has a very odd setup.
So what about the setup is unusual to you?
Well, normally you don't put that much stress on your wrist right to start. Watch when he puts his hand in the ball. He's got a lot of cup there, and then when he brings it back, his release is very smooth.
Results are results.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, not only you have the cupping motion, but look how high the backswing comes.
But he comes down. You can see his fingers right behind the ball as he comes down, and that's the position you want to be in. So you're up the back of the ball when you release it.
Boy, Ryan's struggling with that 7-pin, isn't he? I know you've done a lot of coaching in your lifetime, and what's intriguing and interesting to me about this sport is there's no one way to be good at it. There's a lot of different ways to a lot of setups, a lot of motions. Like, how do you as a coach, teach people the best way for them?
Well, that's a great question. If someone's coming to you to be coached, they probably want to go back to fundamentals. So you try to do the best you can to get them back to the fundamentals of the game. So you would go back to the simple things like their footwork and their stability at the line. You want to be stable at the line. Because once you start falling off your feet or you start whipping the ball through, that's where you start missing your target and stuff. So you really want to teach that. How you get there, 4-step, 5-step, that you kind of like, you add steps if people need power. Let's take a look at this. Went back to the original ball, which I think in order for the best carry, you want to hit a little high flush up in the pocket. And this is his best chance. This ball is his best chance for that. good spare.
How do you know when something is a bad habit or something that may be unusual that works for a particular bowler?
Repetition. Repetition. Do they repeat it all the time, or is it something that creeps in every now and then? And all of coaching starts right there, right in your push away. That's where timing is developed. So it's real easy to work with someone. You simplify it down to let's just start with this. Let's just look at your push away.
Well, it's a good push away and a good start for Steve Dorobiala. Strikes in the first 3 frames. Steve has competed at a high level around Western New York City Tournament Championship team, where one of his teammates was Tony Dolan that we saw on our show last week, and he's also finished in the top 4 of an Obenauer Masters tournament and won a city tournament. So Steve knows how to have the right fundamentals, the right game, and handle the right kind of pressure.
I would say Steve is a don't try this at home kind of guy. It works for him, and I love how he gets back into position at the bottom of the swing. But he does have a few mechanical things he does different to get there.
Well, see, somebody watching this is going to go, wait a minute, what do you mean don't try this at home? He's got 4 strikes in the first 4 frames.
Good point. Repetition, repetition, repetition.
All right, maybe that has inspired Ryan Kress to go, uh-oh, I better start striking myself.
That was another ball change. Now that one was, he moved it a little bit deeper and got the carry that he needed. He's 33 down, but as long as he can find the pocket, he's filled his frames. Just needs to keep striking now.
Yep, we're still early. This is only the 5th frame right now for Ryan Kress.
Oh, that's a bad break. Here's an example of knowing your equipment. I mean, if you're going to carry a bunch of bowling balls with you, you need to know how they fit. And in his case, he's been able to make ball changes that have made different results on the lanes. And he's known to go to them in a one-game match like this. If you make a ball change, you really need to know what it's going to do. Didn't look like he was too sure about that.
No, he did not. So Ryan Kress finishes his first 5 frames with 4 spares and a strike. Meanwhile, Steve has knocked them all down through the first 4 frames. And that streak continues. Maybe that the exaggerated cupping move, maybe that's just him connecting with the ball at a very close level.
No, that's where he gets his wrist action from somehow. But with this, it's all ball reaction and all how the ball enters the pocket.
Yeah, determined look on Steve's face. He's got no reason to be anything other than determined and happy. Perfect through 5. And that's the first miscue of this one for Steve, and he'll have to pull in that 7-pin for the spare.
I really felt like he liked that shot. His body language said he liked it, which, you know, a lot of bowlers complain about 10 pins, but you've hit the pocket, and a lot of times you just keep with it.
So it's a terrific start to this match for Steve Dorobiala. Let's see how it ends up. We'll do that when we return. Beat the Champ, presented by Storm.
The Western New York area has long been considered one of the best anywhere for the sport of bowling.
And no matter where you live, we have lanes nearby.
For top competition,
Fun with family and friends.
great food and drink, or just a night out, we got you.
We are
The bowling proprietors.
of Western New York.
Stop in and enjoy our sport today.
12X Tech Bowling Supplies is committed to continuing the decades-long tradition of excellence established by the DeSanto family. We are the ultimate destination for customer service, experience, and product variety. We offer an extensive inventory of balls, bags, shoes, and accessories. Our unique fitting and drilling process, combined with our in-house lane, ensures a perfect fit every time. With a range of repair and maintenance services, we can help keep your gear performing at its best. Consult our team today at 1000 Highland Drive in the J. Scuddy South Plaza, conveniently located off of 390 in Henrietta.
I'm Paul Peck.
And I'm Sue Nawojski. We want to see you out here bowling for the top spot on Beat the Champ.
So get to any of our great host centers and get the details on how you can be a part of the show and be our next winner.
And don't miss any of the action here on MSG every week.
Yeah, so check out the show next week or get out there and qualify and be our Beat the Champ winner.
All right, we got a good one going here in our second match of the day at Manor Lanes in Tonawanda, New York. Ryan Kress and Steve Dorobiala. Dorobiala with the great start. Strikes in the first 5 frames, a spare in 6. Been a little more of a struggle for Ryan, but he's hanging in there. And if he can put a couple strikes together here, he'll make this very interesting. And on cue, thank you, Ryan. There's his second strike.
Good ball choice there. Giving him more of the look that he's looking for. Second arrow. So Ryan has done more of, sometimes bowlers, most of the time, bowlers will move on the lane, move their eyes, move their feet, move their target. And Ryan seems to be trying to stay in the same spot just by switching bowling balls. And
yeah, and he's not happy about that. You know, the split that is left, and a little frustration as Ryan kind of yelled at the pins as he faces a challenge here. And this could be a critical moment in this match. So it's an open in the 7th for Ryan Kress.
yeah, Ryan's still looking for a little success here on the show. His family's here cheering him on.
Yeah, he has.
As they are always where he is.
Absolutely. He has a couple of wins, including the one in our first match of the day and one a couple of weeks ago. And this is his second appearance here on Beat the Champ.
I know how badly he'd like to be the champ. But Steve's tough in this match. He's got a really nice shot to the pocket.
And after strikes on the first 5 frames, this is going to be at least 2 spares in a row for Steve. Yep. Particularly with the opportunity for Steve to maybe put this one away.
All right.
Spares in the last 2 frames for Steve as we move to 8. I do, you know, even though that was just a spare ball, as you pointed out, just a nice, easy, relaxed stroke. You know,
yeah, it's very smooth.
If you're starting to watch this show regularly, you see all kinds of, some are relaxed, some are the opposite of relaxed on the approaches, and Steve's is nice and easy. You know, you don't have to break the pins in half. You just have to knock all 10 of them down.
That's true. When you're used to seeing the two-handers, you know, we've been seeing so many of them and seeing how much of a strain that looks like on your body. It actually stands out when you see someone with just a smooth, easy stroke.
Yeah, and that one got away from Ryan again. So Ryan Kress with another spare challenge, and he gets it. Winner of this match will take on George Szczublewski and try to knock George off his run of our winner 3 weeks in a row. Which of these bowlers will have their chance to beat the champ? We're about to find out. Good strike there from Ryan in the ninth. Such a good shot.
Just did exactly what we need to do here. Again, we're going to watch that ball where it starts to pick up right here, and it hits the pocket a little higher flush in the 1-2.
Ninth frame now for Steve Dorobiala.
Same thing for Steve. Yep. He's got that pocket angle.
2 strikes in a row for him. And a nice big smile on his face. I think he knows things are going very well right now.
Well, the best Ryan can do is 2:05, and all Steve needs here in this first shot is good count to have that beat.
So it looks like Steve Dorobiala is going to be the guy to try to knock George off the throne.
I'm going to venture to say that George might have his work cut out for him in the next match.
Yes, I think you're right about that. Steve does seem to be in a very good groove right now. And George will be the first to tell you, as he did at the beginning of the broadcast, that he's been muddling through a little bit and getting wins, not always in the prettiest ways. So Steve will have the fill ball to throw and to post a final score. But it's going to be a good one.
.246.
How good? That good. 246. One of the higher scores we have had on the show so far here in our second month. So Steve Dorobiala moves on with an impressive performance here today.
Oh. Ryan's looking at the sky because he knows that that is the ball reaction he's been looking for.
Yeah, just a little too late. So Ryan does get that win, even though he didn't break 200 in our first match, but he gets it, and he's got 2 wins on the show now, and now the next goal for Ryan, and don't be surprised if you see him in next month's shows, is to try to grab that title as a Beat the Champ winner. So one more here for Ryan. And the spare is picked up, and it's going to be a 246 to 194 final. So our championship match, Dorobiala and Szczublewski, it is coming up next. Our host center for Beat the Champ, presented by Storm, is Manor Lanes. You can find them online at manorlanes.com. They're just one of our many great host centers. If you want details on how to be a part of Beat the Champ, just stop in at any of our host centers and ask, how can you be on the show? How can I be on the show, Sue Nawojski? Well, we might be seeing you here at the Lanes. We are ready for our championship match. Those two gentlemen, George Szczublewski on the left, Steve Dorobiala on the right. One of them will be our next Beat the Champ winner. Will it be George Szczublewski's 4th week in a row? Good little streak going on for George. Or will we move the crown to Steve Dorobiala? What's the key to this matchup right now?
Well, I don't think that George is going to get his 3 frames to figure it out like he did last time, although that ball just hooked up on.
Yeah, and you make up a great point. If you were with us on our last week's show, like, George really struggled early, and by his own admission, felt like I have no chance of winning, but Tony Dolan started to struggle himself. George kind of found himself and kind of eked out a win last week.
Good spare.
And again, last week, George beats Tony Dolan 196 to 193. Not what you would expect in a championship match between 2 terrific bowlers like that. So a spare in the first frame for Steve, and let's see if George maybe can find himself a little earlier. Got to stop waiting until the 7th frame, George.
Right. It's very similar to what we just saw, but on the other side. Yeah. Well, he stayed out of trouble. That's a new ball I haven't seen George throw yet. Obviously hoping to
So what do you think maybe
dishes.
George either learned from his last match or his practices or his warm-ups that led to making a ball change?
Well, obviously he thinks that's going to give him his best chance of striking. I think that this ball has, we can see it has more shine. So he's definitely looking for the ball to get down the lane
Slide
a little bit longer.
more?
Yeah, the front of the lane is probably starting to hook a little bit, so he wants to get this type of surface will get through the heads better. The heads being the front of the lane.
There you go.
And that's exactly what he did. He got that ball very, very straight through the front.
George Szczublewski is 59 years old from Niagara Falls. Occupation as a plant supervisor for the Olin Corporation. And again, he has been our early star here on Beat the Champ as he looks to win for a 4th week in a row.
Well, that's
and George is such a fun guy to root for. Steve is as well, too, but George, as we've gotten to know George and as everybody who's watched the show has gotten to know him, he's just a fun guy to root for. He is just a classic Western New York guy who loves this sport and loves being around the people who love this sport.
Yeah, I mean, if he wrote down that his favorite thing about bowling is the friends that he's made, so he knows how to, not just enjoy competing, but take advantage of the social aspect as well. So Steve here has had to move in a little bit on the lane, but it didn't seem to change the way the ball hits the pins. Oh, wow, we saw that again. Last week we saw one of these.
7-9 split.
Yep, so this is, and it was on the same lane exactly. So sometimes, it can be a characteristic of the way the pin setter sets the pins down.
Well,
tough break.
He'll get the 9, but it'll be an open in the 3rd frame. So I was going to ask you, why does something like that happen? Is it because the pins don't react and spin and tumble the right way?
Well, no, it's the same thing that there's a couple factors could be, but when the lanes are a little bit drier and you move in and your ball loses energy in the front of the lane, when it hits the pins, it has less energy and less deflection. Nope, right back at you.
Yeah, right back at you is right. The 4, 6, 7, 10
I'll
split.
tell you what. Sure. He's looking at that ball just hooked up a little bit high at him.
All right, how do you deal with this one, Sue?
Take 2 and go to your next lane.
Take 2 and run. All right, that's what George does. So identical scores in the first 3 frames for both guys. Spare, strike, open, which means we're 0-0.
Well,
kind of.
We're in the same position where they're now bowling a 7-frame match as opposed to a 10-frame match.
That's right. Current average of 228 for George Szczublewski, who bowls in 3 leagues currently. And bowls at a very high level all around Western New York. And he cheered that one down the lanes right into the pocket. And if
so
you've
we're
been
watching him here, look, he's now gotten very deep. He crossed over 4th arrow there. So he's staying away from the right-hand side of the lane almost entirely at this point.
Love the reaction. Love the body language. You saw him yell. You heard it before. And now all of a sudden things are happening to Steve that he can't quite figure out. He and George looked at each other and shared the pain. There's friendship and pain sometimes, isn't there?
Well, it's a very makeable spare. Let's leave it at that.
Guys having
at
a little
least
fun
no
with
one's
the crowd.
throwing nickels.
Yeah, guys.
That was a thing for a while.
Yeah.
You leave a 5-pin and people threw nickels at you. Childish.
All right, so for the 2nd week in a row, we get to our championship match. We get all excited about the highest level of guys battling, with all this incredible skill, and it's kind of like which one of you want to win this
Right.
thing.
Well, I think you got to look at it, though, as it's a good match. I mean, nobody's running away with it.
Yeah, whether it's 260 to 255,
Exactly.
it's a
And
good
that's
match.
one
Whether
thing-
it's 196 to 193, it's a good match.
Honestly, great point. bowlers have to realize that as long as your opponent's on the same exact condition you are, it is a fair match. It doesn't have to be a 270 game or a 260 game. You have to outplay, outwit your opponent.
All you got to do is win by 1 pin. And if my memory holds me correct, I think George Szczublewski won one of his matches last month at Transit by 1 pin. So that's all it takes.
Yeah, we've seen some 1-pin matches.
So
right,
6th frame now for George Szczublewski.
Puts him up a few pins. He's up 8 now. But they both have strikes working, so somebody gets a double here, they can get a little heads up. Ooh, that one got right at target.
I don't think he liked it as soon as he threw it.
Well, he knew he got it right at target, so he was hoping it would turn around, which it did. He got that all the way to like 8.
So it's a 6th frame spare for George Szczublewski. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with the conclusion of our championship match. Who's going to be our Beat the Champ winner? We'll find out.
What is it about bowling that captivates us so much? Mastery of the game is impossible, but perfection is just within reach. Success seems to lie 60 feet ahead, but the real battle takes place 6 inches between your ears. So no matter how many times you fail, you would still do anything, and I mean anything, just to get 1% better. We know exactly how you feel.
Hey, Paul, what are you doing?
Hey, Sue. Hey, didn't you hear? We're bowling on MSG. I've got to practice.
No, Paul, we're not bowling on MSG. We're hosting bowling on MSG.
Oh, thank goodness, because there is no way I was going to be ready. Beat the Champ here on MSG. Soon Nawojski and I will bring you all the action. We'll see you on the lanes.
Paul, were you going to bowl in a suit?
Coming down the stretch of our championship match, can Steve Dorobiala take the crown away from George Szczublewski, or is George going to wear it for a 4th week in a row? And if he does do that, that would mean 2 wins at Transit Lanes, 2 wins here at Manor Lanes, which, if your game can travel, that's a good sign.
Oh, that was a big shot right there, because he could have taken the lead with that.
Steve's been so close, just to, usually that 7-pin hangs up for him.
Yep, well, as the matches go on, the lanes just change subtly, which means your ball hits the pocket a little bit different, and then all of a sudden you'll start to leave a few things, a few 10-pins, and you have to decide whether you're going to make another move or not.
So really the difference in this match is the 4th frame, it was a strike for George and a spare for Steve. And that's really, everything else has been exactly the same for both guys.
I mean, it's a 7-pin match, so we're under a mark here for difference in, we're talking about pin count. We're talking about 1 double. Great match.
So we hit the 7th frame now for Steve Dorobiala. And again, somebody has put double stick tape on the bottom of the 7-pin.
Yeah, there's not much he can do different. I mean, he's executing. He's hitting his target. Actually, the ball's driving in the pocket, still in that sort of high flush position, but he's wrapping around that 7 now.
Frustrating, isn't it?
It is. It's a game of angles.
Spare in the 7th for Steve. So who wants I feel like who wants to win this match? Like the opportunities are there for both guys, and they haven't always been able to jump into those. Maybe that happens now, and again, that's the tribute. That's why George has won 3 in a row. He just makes the one more move that he needs to win.
One thing that George has over other bowlers is a lot of tournament experience. I mean, he's got a lot of experience in these positions.
And again, could that be the moment, that strike in the 7th frame? How important is that tournament experience? You have bowled in numerous high-level tournaments all across the country. How different is that when you're in a pressure-packed situation like this?
It's an immense difference, especially when you've felt success. And then you have confidence in your ability to make that shot. Sometimes when you're practicing, you should mentally simulate having to make a shot. It's critical that in these moments you feel like confident that you can make it. Wow.
And again, right when you thought George was ready to make life a little easy on himself, you get that.
Let's take a look at this. Cut right through the middle of the pins. This is something we see more out of the two-handers, these unusual formations.
So Steve Dorobiala has to be looking at this going, okay, I'm still in this.
This is makeable.
Oh, that's a heck of an effort. It still leaves the 9-pin, and it's still an open frame, but that was one heck of a shot at it.
Just missed that sleeper pin in the back.
So now back to Steve's chance to take control.
Yeah, he can take the lead in this match just by filling the frame. There
And
it goes.
finally, the 7 goes down for Steve Dorobiala.
Somehow he knows that pin knows that his swing was a little bit more relaxed without all that pressure. It's just amazing how that happens.
All right, now this is a big one because here's, again, another chance to take control or to keep George in it. And I think, as we've seen, if you keep George in it, things aren't going to go well for you.
This is to go up 14 pins.
There it is. And the crowd senses it too. A big double in the 8th and 9th frames for Steve Dorobiala.
Those were 2 very big shots right there, especially with the strike up in the 9th frame going into the 10th frame. We're in a must-strike situation here for George.
And he does. Answers the bell.
I think he would have liked that shot back in the 8th frame.
Yeah, again, these have all come down to one frame here and there, and if George doesn't win this, I think you look back at that 8th frame and go, man, if he had gotten some of those pins to fall, he puts himself in a position to put the pressure back on Steve. Now the pressure is on George to try to keep his 3-week-in-a-row streak alive.
Must strike.
Ring 10 means no strike.
That puts Steve in a position to just need some count.
And you know what? By his own admission, George says he's been living on the edge a little bit in this 3-week winning streak. And sometimes when you live on the edge, it catches up to you. And I think that's maybe what we're seeing happen here today. So the score gets posted at 181, and certainly George, even though he won with 196 last week, he knows that isn't going to be good enough. So 9 pins right here for Steve Dorobiala, and he is our new Beat the Champ winner. 46 years old, Orchard Park, New York. Chance at a little glory as a Beat the Champ winner. He's got it. So Steve Dorobiala is our new champion. We will talk to him when we return to Manor Lanes on Beat the Champ.
The Western New York area has long been considered one of the best anywhere for the sport of bowling.
And no matter where you live, we have lanes nearby.
For top competition,
Fun with family and friends.
Great food and drink, or just a night out, we got you.
We are the bowling proprietors
of Western New York.
Stop in and enjoy our sport today.
12X Tech Bowling Supplies is committed to continuing the decades-long tradition of excellence established by the DeSanto family. We are the ultimate destination for customer service, experience, and product variety. We offer an extensive inventory of balls, bags, shoes, and accessories. Our unique fitting and drilling process, combined with our in-house lane, ensures a perfect fit every time. With a range of repair and maintenance services, we can help keep your gear performing at its best. Consult our team today at 1000 Highland Drive in the J. Scuddy South Plaza, conveniently located off of 390 in Henrietta.
I'm Paul Peck.
And I'm Nawojski. We want to see you out here bowling for the top spot on Beat the Champ.
So get to any of our great host centers and get the details on how you can be a part of the show and be our next winner.
And don't miss any of the action here on MSG every week.
Yeah, so check out the show next week or get out there and qualify and be our Beat the Champ winner.
Beat the Champ is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company, and by the Bowling Proprietors Association of Western New York. Stop in and enjoy our sport today. 3 big strikes down the stretch leads this gentleman, Steve Dorobiala, to a 216-181 win over George Szczublewski. He is our new Beat the Champ winner. Congratulations, Steve. Sue, how did he make this happen?
Well, we talk a lot about technology in bowling and how important equipment has become. We all carry a bunch of bowling balls, but we don't expect to use 2 balls in one match. Tell us a little bit about using 1 ball in one lane and 1 ball in the other lane.
So toward the end of my first match, the carry started getting a little weaker for me, and second match, the same thing. The corner pins were starting to show, and so I switched to a stronger ball, moved a little right, tried to get a little better carry. Worked somewhat, but basically it just came down to filling frames at the end and just avoiding the mistakes. That's what it was.
How important, Steve, we saw it in both of your matches, being able to shake off a bad frame, a bad shot, things don't go your way, something doesn't fall that you expected to fall. How important is that in these kinds of competitive bowling situations?
Well, the shot is getting pretty burnt out there, so really you want to just keep filling frames because you don't know. Somebody could leave a wide open split, and that's when you take advantage of it. Just keep clean, and that's the key at this point, I think.
All right. Well, those are the keys for next week for you, because you're going to get to sit around, hang around, watch a couple of other challengers try to take away the crown that is now held by this guy, Steve Dorobiala. We had fun here. Week 2, Manor Lanes, Tonawanda, New York. Week 3 going to be even better. We'll see this guy. We'll see all of you. Thanks for joining us on Beat the Champ, presented by Storm.